Let's go over all of Columbina's best team comps. First, let's talk about Flynn's, the Lunar Charge DPS. The Flynn's premium team with Anefa and Sucrose is getting a significant damage upgrade with Columbina over Ino. C6 Yehoda can also be used to provide crit to everyone, but she does unfortunately still have the issue of taking up a lot of field time. Another option for the 4th slot is Durin, who provides some rest shred as well as some personal damage with overloads and vapes. If you don't have Anefa yet for Flynn's, Columbina will still be a buff for him, as you can just replace Anefa with Fischl in both the Durin and Sucrose versions of the team. Next, we have Nefer, the Lunar Bloom DPS. Nahida is still one of the best 4th slot supports for damage. Sucrose is also a competitive sustainless 4th slot in terms of damage because of her EM buff. If you happen to have C6 Ino, using her with Columbina is also a solid option. Anefa will generally be the best sustain option for Nefer with her shield, but if you want to save Anefa for another team, Kuki is also a great and relatively cheap to build sustain option. If you don't have Llama yet for Nefer, Columbina will still be a buff for her, especially in terms of quality of life. For example, you can play the duo of Columbina and Ino with Anefa or Nahida as the last support. But if you have C0 Anefa and Nahida, this Llama-less team with Columbina is fairly comparable to the Nefer plus Llama teams without Columbina and don't require a relatively new C6 4-star. The 3rd Lunar DPS is Zibai. One of the best final supports for her is C6 Goro because of his potent buffs, small amount of healing with C4, and his buff to interruption resistance. Now if you don't have C6 Goro, he is decently worse, but Zhongli is also a solid option because of his strong shield and his rest shred. Other viable 4-slot supports who introduce defensive utility include Dahlia and Xingqiu. Chiori is also a promising final support in terms of damage, however she only provides off-field damage and not defensive utility, which Zibai would really like. Lastly, if you don't manage to get many Ilua constellations, mainly less than C2, then using Zibai with Columbina, Farina or Ino, and Shilonen is a decent option, though the team has no interruption resistance and doesn't scale very well with vertical investment.